Hello and welcome to Dan and Dave's Basketball Podcast. For the next 40 minutes, we will entertain you with our conversation about how we think sports are right now. Our first topic we're going to discuss is the slam dunk contest. The combatants are Zach LaVine, Mason Plumlee, the Greek Freak, or the Alphabet, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Victor Oladipo. How do you feel? Who do you think is going to win the dunk contest?
I think there's one clear-cut favorite, and that's going to be the rookie Zach LaVine out of UCLA. I feel like his athletic ability and just his dunking ability, the guy doesn't play too much, but he is an absolute freak when it comes to dunking. He has outstanding leaping ability, and honestly, I don't think it's even close.
Did you see the footage of him from the Sacramento camp? He was at a Jamal Crawford basketball camp.
Yes, I did.
And he just blew it away with these dunks. But my guy is Giannis Antetokounmpo. That guy is supremely athletic, and there is nobody in the league right now that is like him besides maybe Anthony Davis. And he is the future of basketball, in my opinion. Because they say when he's done growing, he's going to be like 7'1" with the handles of a point guard. You just don't find people like that.
7'1"?
Yeah.
They say he's going to be 7'1" when he's done growing.
Yeah, because they say because he's shot up, like even in the last year he's been taller, and they just expect him to just keep growing.
Kind of like the Paul George effect. He was 6'7" when Paul George was drafted. Now he's, I think, 6'9".
Yeah.
I mean, 2 inches, that's still kind of a big deal in basketball. Certainly the NBA. Giannis is going to... he might come in second in this dunk contest. The thing that Giannis brings to the table in terms of the dunk contest is his outstanding and very rare length. He's very long, and maybe he can do some weird cradle, kind of like how Michael did it back in 90s. But I feel like Giannis could really do some, pretty interesting dunks.
Have you been watching him lately? He's been showing off some stuff, in-game stuff that I've just been... Because he's been on breakaway dunks, and he's just been doing some stuff that they're unbelievable.
He can travel half the basketball court in 2 steps. And
did you see his Euro step? He was at the 3-point line, and he Euro stepped from the 3-point line and put it in a layup. It was the craziest. He's just so athletic. I just can't see anyone beating him right now. Zach LaVine is special, but I don't think he's Giannis. And I think Giannis has something prepared like nobody's business.
The thing about dunk contests in the past 4 or 5 years, everyone has reached the understanding that the dunk contest is on the decline. It's not the same as it used to be. And that's for a number of reasons. There's not the high-profile dunkers like there used to be. Mm-hmm. And honestly, haven't all the dunks been done just about? It takes a very creative person to come up with something that no one else has, ever seen. That's what I challenged, these contestants to do, is to do something that we've never seen to keep us interested.
I would love to see somebody do a 720 in a dunk contest. It hasn't been done. It would just blow me away if somebody was able to do a 720 dunk in the dunk contest. The problem is the people that like Zach LaVine who come in as these dunkers. They never seem to really. The only exception has been Gerald Green won, and he was just a straight dunker.
They had birthday cake dunk.
They had a couple guys that were they said they were gonna do these crazy things in the dunk contest, and it never really panned out. They were talking about Shannon Brown, who was had this crazy athleticism, and was he's gonna blow us away. And then a couple seasons ago, it was what was it? James Flight White.
Oh.
They were James Flight White. He had all these videos on YouTube about him doing these crazy dunks and all these D-League stuff he did. But when he actually showed up at the dunk contest, he just fell flat.
And where is he now?
Out of the league. So unless Zach LaVine, he's never going to be. I don't think he's ever, unless he gets his head around straight and figures out how to play. I don't know if he's going to be a big time player. He's just going to be one of those dunkers who has crazy athleticism and crazy hops who never really panned out.
He could be that, but the guy is so raw and so young. He had 1 season at UCLA? I personally thought he should have stayed another year because he didn't play great at UCLA, but he's got a lot of things that could translate into a very good NBA player. Outstanding athletic ability. The 3-point shot is there, which Giannis does not have at this point yet.
He might not get it either. I don't know if that's going to be a part of his game.
And obviously the athletic ability, the speed. The guy just needs to learn how to play better defense, he needs to become a more aware player where he is on the court, and he's got to get smarter. certainly.
Okay, well, that's been our preview of the dunk contest. We could talk about the other two contestants real fast. Mason Plumlee, I hate 7-foot people in the dunk contest. It really bothers me. Like, all you have to do is basically jump a foot off the ground and you can dunk. Like, I don't see the skill there. Victor Oladipo's an interesting wild card because he has so much versatility and he is so like athletic. And I think if anybody was to beat Giannis, I think it would be Oladipo, in my opinion. I think LaVine's going to finish in third.
And Plumlee finishing dead last.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
unless he comes out with something really, really crazy.
Which he certainly can, because being 7 foot, he does have an advantage. He's closer to the rim. Maybe he'll be able to pull up some sort of...
I almost feel like in dunk contests, like the height like hurts you a little bit. I feel like they tend to vote for people who are shorter, who have like more of a challenge to dunk. That's why Nate Robinson won. That's why they like Spud Webb won his dunk contest.
But also Blake Griffin is one. Dwight Howard is one. There have been some big guys in recent history that have won the dunk contest. But, I guess we're going to have to wait till Saturday to find out.
We'll find out, yes, absolutely. Also on Saturday, we will have the three-point contest. And it's arguably one of the most competitive fields we've ever had, with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, J.J. Redick, Wesley Matthews, Kyrie Irving, Kyle Korver, Marco Bellinelli, the reigning champ, and James Harden, who could potentially be the MVP. Well, we'll get into that later. Who do you got?
Like you said, Dave, this is going to be, I think, the best, the most competitive three-point shootout that has ever taken place. But right now, my guy is Kyle Korver, shooting the highest percentage from three in the league. 52%, that's ridiculous.
He could potentially become the first player ever to have a 50-50-90 season. The only other player that ended the season with those kind of stats, Steve Kerr, and the only reason he didn't break the record because he didn't shoot enough free throws that season.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah, we're looking at possibly history, but I got to go with Curry. I mean, Steph Curry, he's the other member of the Splash Brothers. Like, Steph Curry?
The other member.
He is just clutch, and he's just, I don't know. I just can't imagine anyone beating him in a contest like this.
There's been, in like recent years, it seems like a dark horse has come out on top in a contest like this, such as Marco Bellinelli last year. Kyrie Irving wasn't really the favorite when he won 2 years ago. Right now, I think I see the biggest dark horse being Wesley Matthews. I feel Wes Matthews could pull off this dunk contest. He's a great shooter, kind of streaky, but he's got one. If he's on, I can see him taking this contest.
Or how about spending his entire career shooting the three? J.J. Redick. The only reason he's in the league originally was because he could shoot the three. Like the reason he got drafted, the reason he worked everywhere. And then it wasn't until he got to Orlando that he developed more aspects of his game. He was always just like that shooter.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could see it. The problem I have with Wesley Matthews is that he's just so streaky. Like, I watch a lot of Portland games because I'm a really big fan of Marcus Aldridge. Like, he's probably my second favorite player in the league, and he's just real streaky. Like, I don't know, he seems to make the contested jump shots much easier than he does the open ones. Just by watching him a lot. I just can't pick anyone besides Curry. I am just struggling with it. Like, I just watch the way he shoots, the way he plays. Like, I just see the fire in him. I can't imagine anyone beating him.
Maybe his teammate Klay Thompson might be able to dethrone him. I actually predict Thompson scoring more points in the first round than Curry. I think it might actually come down to Klay Thompson and Kyle Korver.
He did score 37 points in a quarter.
He
did. Yeah.
Instant offense is certainly there. He's got a great shot. He and Steph Curry, in terms of who's the better shooter, it's a flip of a coin. It's very hard to decide. Steph Curry's right now is the better overall player, but
I don't know about that. I think it's close.
Oh, it certainly is close, but Steph Curry's could be the league MVP. Speaking of that, another contender for the MVP, James Harden, is in this contest, and I feel he deserves a lot of. He should be a favorite in this contest.
If I had to pick somebody that I thought was going to finish in last, he would be my pick.
You feel like James Harden's going to finish last? Yeah. Why is that?
I don't know. I never consider him a great 3-point shooter. I know he shoots and hits a lot of threes, but he takes a lot of shots. I never really considered him a great 3-point shooter. I never really it's not like I don't ever watch games and be like, yeah, James Harden is really good at shooting the three. That's what nah. I never really consider it.
I mean, Like, I've seen James Harden just absolutely dominate from outside the arc in recent games. Yeah, he struggled against the Clippers, but before that, he damn near a triple-double, hit multiple threes. You can't count this guy out. But like I said, I'm sticking with Kyle Korver. I've heard, I watched the Bulls game last night, and there was an anecdote about Kyle Korver that Jeff Teague told. He said during practice, Kyle Korver only takes 50 shots. He takes 50 shots and, then goes home. Well, normal basketball players take at least 200 shots per practice. Kyle Korver only takes 50, and he hits a very high percentage of those. It's just easy for him. It's a natural thing for Kyle Korver to do is hit threes, and he's definitely my pick to take this contest.
Wow. All right. You swayed me. You convinced me I'm going to change my pick. I'm going to pick Kyle Korver, and I'm just going to go with it. We're going to find out on Saturday who's going to win. I think it's going to be probably the most fun thing on All-Star break to watch.
Yeah. This is the premier contest to watch this weekend, Saturday.
I really enjoy the All-Star game, and I enjoy all the festivities, but the three-point contest this year at least, I think has potential to be the best three-point contest ever, and I think it could be one of those things that people will you will tell your kids that you will watch this three-point contest, like how people were with the Vince Carter dunk contest, how we'd be yeah, I saw this dunk contest. This is going to be legendary.
This three-point contest should be the main event. Move the dunk contest back to maybe the co-main event, the second slot. This three-point contest is what's going to steal the show. So I think that's all we have on this topic. So let's move on to the next.
All right, great. All right, so we're going to get into a little bit of the stuff that's happening after the All-Star break. We're going to look forward. We're going to look ahead to a couple of different playoff races. We're going to look at the MVP, the sixth man, and possibly potentially the coach of the year, and who will finish at the top of their respective conferences. We're going to start the conversation with OKC, which are right now, they are on the outside looking in. They are a game and a half back of Phoenix. But the question is, everybody assumed that when Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook both got healthy, that Oklahoma City would go on this run and they would be a lock for a playoff team. But it hasn't happened yet. And so we're is it going to happen?
Honestly, Dave, I don't think anyone really knows yet. They have a very tough schedule ahead of them, and then they have to get past Phoenix, who is playing. They're playing at a good level, a very elite level, but the Western Conference is so deep. That's the problem with the Western Conference. Some good teams are going to miss the playoffs, and honestly, OKC might fall under that category. New Orleans Pelicans are also playing very well. Anthony Davis is playing like an MVP, but it seems like they're going to struggle to make the playoffs too unless maybe one of the bigger teams has a key injury and they fall out of the scenario, which, you can't rule anything out.
I think Oklahoma City is going to make the playoffs. I think they have to make the playoffs. I think they have to make the playoffs.
They have to.
Yeah. I think Scott Brooks' job is on the line if they don't make the playoffs.
Scott Brooks is a great coach.
I would disagree. I think he has great players. I don't know if he's a great coach. You watch the offensive sets they run a lot of the times, and it's very, very vanilla. You think if you had these two of the top 10 players in the NBA, you could come with a better offensive system than whatever they run in Oklahoma City. I feel like their offenses is just so predictable all the time. It's either going to be Kevin Durant's going to get the basketball and they're going to run some ISO for him, or they're going to do Russell Westbrook do his magician stuff. I just feel like
it's hard to stop.
They need to make the playoffs in order to keep his job. And I also, with the pending free agency with Kevin Durant, with all these Washington swirling rumors about him maybe going back home, I think that they need to make the playoffs, and I think they will make the playoffs. I'm not sold on Phoenix as a team. I don't think they have the player that can carry a team.
They have three great guards.
They have 3 point guards. So I just don't think that system works. I'm just not seeing it. I watch them a lot, and I watch the 3 point guards interact with each other. I'm just not seeing the flow of an offense that you should see with 3 point guards in the game.
Really, I feel Phoenix does have. They have a lot of potential, and they do have a lot of upside. Their 3 point guards could put up 20 plus points a game, between, a few of them can. And then you have Markieff Morris, Alex Len.
Overrated.
They're playing who? Alex Len?
Both of them. They're both overrated.
Markeith Morris is underrated.
Oh, dude, he's extremely over. They just paid him, dude. How can he be overrated?
I don't feel like people realize how good he is.
Dude,
and
he's incredibly overrated. Yeah, I wouldn't have given him that contract that I gave him. I think it's a waste of money. He will never ever live up to that money.
He's playing well right now, and
he's a streaky shooter at best. What does he bring to the table that you can't get from like some?
He makes big shots.
When does he make a big shot? What was the big shot he made?
He's made big shots against Minnesota. Yeah,
Minnesota.
Still, it's a game winner. He seems like when you need a
really
big shot, they give him the ball.
Big shots during Minnesota. They have they're 32 games under 500.
Well, but then let's bring it back home. Is OKC gonna pass Phoenix? Yeah, it's plausible. It might happen. They have better players. I feel Phoenix is deeper than OKC, but OKC has the two main superstars and Serge Ibaka, who's a dominant defensive player.
He's an overrated player. I think if Oklahoma City could make that decision they made 3 seasons ago, they would do the opposite. They would have picked Harden over Serge Ibaka.
Well, Harden's playing like an MVP, but who's going to score the ball? I mean, you would have James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook. None of them are elite defenders. Serge Ibaka is certainly an elite
defender.
I wouldn't go that far. He's certainly not a Serge Ibaka. He's not a rim protector.
Yeah, but
so you're gonna have Steven Adams start for the whole season. Steven Adams is gonna be your main rim protector. I don't like that. I'd rather have
Steven Adams is raw. I think Serge Ibaka's a nice player, but I think people talk about him as like he's like some kind of like god. I'm not.
Oh, he's not a god by any means, but he's a great defensive component that fits well in the OKC system. James Harden needs to be the guy on the team, and that's what he is in Houston. I feel like they made the right decision, even though they did lose out on James Harden, but they have a defense, and I don't know.
I'll have to agree to disagree with you on this topic, but Oklahoma City's gonna make the playoffs. I just have to believe in Kevin Durant. There's no way somebody as good as him is gonna let his team not make the playoffs. I have a hard time believing that and fathoming it. It's just not in the realm of possibility for him.
And Russell Westbrook, he's still putting up 25.8 points a game. He's an elite scorer. Just on the defensive side of the ball, I wish they brought more to the table.
I think Russell Westbrook is a premier point guard defensively. I don't think you can get any better than Russell Westbrook. I think there are like 4 or 5 guys I would take over him defensively at that position. I would take maybe like Chris Paul. I would take Connolly.
I'd take a healthy Rondo.
Yeah, I guess. I think Mike Rondo's the other end of the floor. Has more issues, but I would take Chris Paul. I would take Mike Conley. I think that might be it.
I'd take John Wall.
No, John Wall's not a great defender.
He gets a lot of steals per game. Runs that fast break.
Just because you have a lot of steals per game doesn't make you a great defender.
Then what makes Russell Westbrook such a great defender?
I think he's a great on-ball defender. I think his ball harassment on-ball point guards is better. I would take Patrick Beverley over him probably too. But
Beverly's a dog. All right, what do we have next?
The next thing we're going to talk about is the Cleveland Cavaliers and their seeding. Right now, they are sitting at 5.
After that loss last night to Chicago, they were at 4, but then Washington hopped them after the loss. Only a half game separates both teams. Which this is the Eastern Conference standings right now. Atlanta at the top, leading by 6.5 games over Toronto. Then Chicago 3rd, Washington 4th, Cleveland 5th, and then Milwaukee, Charlotte, and Miami round out the top 8 Eastern Conference.
So where do you think Cleveland's going to finish when all is said and done? I do not see them falling out of any less than 5. Do you think that's where they sit at the end of the season? At 5?
No, they're going to pass Washington for sure. Toronto's playing well, and no one's talking about them. If they continue their play, they could be the 2nd seed. I don't think anyone's passing Atlanta. I think that's a given. It could be Cleveland could finish as high as 3, I'd say. But I'd say around the 3 or 4 range is where they're going to fall.
I'm going to give them 2.
Okay.
I think they will finish 2. That's the second best team in the Eastern Conference when the season's over. I think Atlanta's a lock. I think that's a wrap. I don't. 6.5 games is, especially if you look at Cleveland, they have to make up 10.5 games. That means Atlanta has to lose 10 straight without Cleveland losing a game. I just don't. That's just too much of a gap to overcome, and I just don't see it.
Let me tell you what I don't like about Cleveland right now. I don't like how Kyrie Irving fits into their offense. It seems like he disappears sometimes. I mean, yeah, he had that 50-something point game.
Double nickel?
Yeah, but that's when LeBron wasn't playing. Now, with LeBron on the court, and then you got to add Love, Mozgov, J.R. Smith, Kyrie Irving, like, he's not gelling the way I'd like to see him. The way he has so much talent. He can be scoring 20-plus points a game, but he's really not doing that with LeBron on the court.
He's averaging 20 points a game right now.
The 21.7, but LeBron has missed, some time this year. With LeBron on the court, I think those numbers certainly are lower than what they are right now.
Oh, yeah, but with LeBron on the court, you don't have as many shot attempts. I mean, that's a given that his stats are going to be less.
LeBron's a great distributor of the basketball as well, so, like, I don't know, I just feel like, because LeBron makes players better, I feel like Kyrie should be scoring more and taking more shots and hitting more shots with LeBron on the floor.
I think it's impossible for him. You would expect Kyrie Irving to take more shots with LeBron. I just think that there's no way. Like if you're the guy and you take all the shots when you don't have your best player off the floor, yeah, but there's no way you're gonna have more shots when you have arguably the best player on the planet on your team, who's gonna take like 18 shots a game. When Kyrie Irving's shooting 16 shots a game with LeBron on the court, I think that's what he should be at.
Yeah, I don't know, and then you also have to take into consideration Kevin Love is he demands the ball too. I don't know. I just would like to see more out of Kyrie, or at least become more of a distributor. Try to get the assists game up.
I don't know if that's really in his makeup though. I don't know if he's really that kind of player that's going to be.
Well, then he's not living up to his potential.
Ooh, that's harsh.
I expect more out of him.
But he's never really been an assist guy. Like he's been like that new breed of point guard. He's like a Damian Lillard, that scoring point guard who you give the ball and you need a bucket. Like I've seen him shoot it from 30. Like he can really score. Like
well, if he wants to be an NBA champion, I mean he better learn how to pass the ball and become more of an assist guy.
I think he will be an NBA championship. I don't think it'll be this season. I just think the West is just too much for anybody in the Eastern Conference. I don't care who comes out. It'll just be. I think it'll be a wrap.
Don't count out the Hawks.
I don't think it'll matter. In a 7-game series where you can game plan against specific players in a 7-game series, I think Atlanta's going to have that problem in a playoff series. I mean, it's easy to beat a team on one given night. One night, like where you're not exactly going to be playing each other over night after night after night, where you can change your scheme and game plan against how you're going to play an opponent.
Mm-hmm.
I think 7-game series are where teams get exposed. Like that's why the Bulls have been bounced by, like in my opinion, inferior teams, but yet they still beat us because they just get to play against us over and over again and find out what we can and cannot do.
Okay, well, I don't think this is Cleveland's year to take it. I agree with you there. I think next year they might be the favorite. But I believe that concludes our segment here in terms of Cleveland.
All right, cool. Let's pause this. All right, so we're now at the NBA's, halfway point, and we always want to talk about where we preview the awards, like who's going to win MVP, Sixth Man, and Coach of the Year. Also, we're going to talk about Most Improved Player. We're going to start with the most important award, the MVP award. I guess there are a couple of candidates we could talk about. We could talk about James Harden's Curry, the future, and I don't know, somebody.
LeBron is certainly
LeBron James,
an MVP. He'll always be an MVP candidate.
Maybe we could talk about somebody from Atlanta. I mean, if we could give the award to
There's
an
not
entire
an MVP
team.
on Atlanta.
In my opinion, I think it's James Harden, and I don't think it's close. I think what he's meant to Houston as a player is more important to any one team than any other player in the NBA so far this season. And when I always try to give the MVP award, that's when I always try to give it out for who means more to their team than any other player in the NBA. And if Houston didn't have James Harden right now, not only would they not be a playoff team, they might be the worst team in the West.
No.
Without James without Howard, they basically played the entire season without him, and that they're still the 4 seed, and they haven't had their second best player for basically a majority of their season.
I'd say about half their season. They've missed
Okay.
Dwight Howard. I don't think they'd be the worst team. I feel like that's quite an overstatement.
Who would carry that team if they didn't have James Harden? Corey Brewer.
I mean, they have more players than Corey Brewer, Dave. They have Josh Smith. They have Monte
him.
Hunis. They have Patrick Beverly. And
Josh Smith.
And who's to say?
Josh Smith just got chased out of Detroit, who had, what was it, 10 wins when they released him?
he's been coming to play a lot lately. If you've watched Josh Smith play lately, he's been more of a focal point of their offense.
He's been Josh Smith, dude. He takes bad shots. He makes bad decisions.
Plays great defense, rebounds, and throws down dunks. Not like he used to, but he's still
He's
executing.
lost a step completely. Like, he's lost a step. And if they don't have James Harden, the chances of them signing Josh Smith would be almost nothing. Yeah, I know him and Howard have that relationship, but I think if they didn't have Harden, he would be in Dallas
Okay.
with Rondo, because they played AU ball together too.
I feel James Harden, he very well may win the MVP award, but I think he's a close second behind Steph Curry. I understand your argument that without James Harden on the Rockets, where are the Rockets now? They may not be one of the top 8 teams in the Western Conference. That's very foreseeable, but Steph Curry has been playing lights out. When you watch Steph Curry play, I don't know, like you can just tell there's something special there. His 3-point shooting is from another planet. He might be the best shooter ever in the NBA, possibly.
He probably is.
I mean, it's hard to say, definitely at this point, but he might, his stroke is just, it's on another level. I've never seen anything like it. He plays good defense. He's a very thin player too. He's very skinny, and he's tough. He takes hits. His ankles have been holding up pretty well this year, and his team has the best record. And is it the best in the NBA? Well, definitely at least the best in the Western Conference.
The Hawks have a better record by 1 game.
Yeah, and the Warriors might be a deeper team than the Rockets, possibly right now.
I don't think it's even close. You have 2 All-Stars on your bench in Golden State.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Josh Smith, was Josh Smith ever an All-Star? I can't remember.
He was, but
Okay.
at some point, but that was a while ago. James Harden might do more for Houston, but Steph Curry, I feel, is the best player in the NBA, and he's on what I think is the best team.
The best player in the NBA
this season.
Okay.
I mean, overall, obviously LeBron's the most talented player.
I think it's Kevin Durant, but it's another kind of debate for another time.
Apples and oranges. But we also can't rule out LeBron. He's second in the NBA in scoring, not to mention his rebounds and assists and just what he means to Cleveland. He's playing unbelievably. You can never count him out of the MVP race. Then there's,
I think he doesn't have I don't think he's got a shot at winning it.
I'd like to see someone besides Durant and LeBron win. That's why I love this year's MVP race.
I don't think they will win it. I don't think either will win it. I don't think Kevin Durant should be playing in the All-Star game either. But that's...
Ooh. But also Damian Lillard and LaMarcus Aldridge are kind of making a statement. Maybe not as much lately. Anthony Davis, if his team was better, he would be getting a lot more MVP votes.
He's injured. He has a lot of injuries.
He still has played 46 games, more than Russell Westbrook this year, more than DeMarcus Cousins.
DeMarcus Cousins, why do you even bring him up? He's not going to win the MVP.
Yeah, I mean,
his team isn't any good.
Yeah, but DeMarcus Cousins has.
If Anthony Davis, if they're able to get to if let's say they make the 6th seed in the playoffs, I don't know if that's even possible at this point. I think he could win the MVP. I think he's been arguably the 3rd best player in the league this season, probably. I don't think there's anyone better than him besides maybe Harden and Curry.
Mm-hmm.
He's carried a team like this. In New Orleans. Who else they got besides him? They got a bunch of players.
Tyreek, Eric Gordon.
They got a bunch of pieces that don't really work together, and the only stabilizing part of that team would be with Anthony Davis.
And without Anthony Davis, they have Alexei Ajinka starting for him, and they're probably one of the worst teams in the NBA.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they wouldn't be in the hunt for a playoff spot if
Yeah.
that's without him.
But right now, I'd say the top 3 favorites are Harden, LeBron, and then Steph Curry, who I feel like is going to take it at the end of the year.
I think when the season's over, I think Anthony Davis will have more MVP votes than LeBron. Yeah. Even if Anthony Davis, even if their team doesn't
The
make the
Cavs are
playoffs.
surging though.
I think because I think just think Anthony Davis means more to his team than LeBron does. Even as good as LeBron is, if you take him off of Cleveland, they're probably still a playoff team in the Eastern Conference, probably.
But does he mean more to the team? That's not the only thing that's considered when deciding who wins the MVP. Yeah, that's a very important part, but that's not the whole cake.
For me, it's the most important part of the debate. Like for me, it's that's a wrap. Like even when Derrick Rose won his MVP, I still think to this day that it should have gone to Dwight Howard.
But that's why you don't have a vote.
All right, on that note, we're gonna end that debate. All right.
Let's see, what do we got now?
All right. So next we're gonna talk about Sixth Man of the Year, and along with the Most Improved Player. Who do you think are some of the candidates for Sixth Man of the Year so far this season?
Sixth Man of the Year, I really like what Tristan Thompson's bringing to Cleveland right off the bench, averaging, I believe, 8 rebounds a game off the bench. That's just a staggering number. His offensive game is also improving, surely but steadily. He was the number 4 pick, I believe, the same year they drafted Kyrie.
That's accurate.
He's living up to the potential slowly but surely. He's developing. Another candidate, I mean, you can never rule out Jamal Crawford. He's the leading scorer off the bench in the NBA, averaging 16 points a game. It's been 15 seasons already for him in the NBA. I say it's a toss between those two players.
I have a dark horse for Sixth Man of the Year. I think it will be Lou Williams. I think Lou Williams. I don't think it can be underrated what he meant for the Raptors while DeMar DeRozan was recovering from his injury. Basically, him and Kyle Lowry basically carried that team without their best player, and I think that has to count for something.
Yeah, he's certainly, like you said earlier, he's a barometer to see whether the Toronto Raptors win or not. Mm-hmm. He scores so many more points in wins and in losses. Another player I'm just going to throw out for a mention, he probably won't win it, but Rudy Gobert is doing some nice things off the bench for Utah. I really like what he brings to the table. His length is ridiculous. Just block shots, rebounds. He's a good player as well.
My problem with Rudy Gobert as a Sixth Man of the Year award winner, he starts a lot of games for them, especially now. Especially if they trade in as Canner away,
which it looks like that's going to happen.
Which could happen. So I don't know if that might
so
disqualify
he might be disqualified.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. All right, so now going forward to the Most Improved Player this year, who do you got, Dave?
I think the Most Improved Player has been a wrap for months. I think Jimmy Butler has won that award. I think he's won it since the first month of the season. I think it's been over. It's like I don't think there's even a debate about who can even compete with him.
That's a valid point. Jimmy Butler, I think, is the favorite too. But one player who might overtake him or finish a close second is Brandon Knight.
No.
Brandon Knight has. Remember the past few seasons in the NBA for Brandon Knight? They've been awful. This is his second team. He's just never was able to get together after leaving Kentucky, but now he's averaging 17.8 points a game, and no one talks about those Milwaukee Bucks. They play great defense. Brandon Knight's defense has certainly improved a lot. He's a good shooter. He's scoring consistently, and since the Bucks have lost Jabari Parker for the year, they needed someone to step up, and you know who that guy was? Brandon Knight. And now Milwaukee's the 6th seed, and they are a good team in the Eastern Conference.
I think it's the Most Improved has been done. It's been over, and it will be Jimmy Butler who wins that award when it's all said and done. All right, for our last conversation, we're going to discuss Coach of the Year, and who do we think we're going to win Coach of the Year. Who do you got winning Coach of the Year so far this season?
Okay, well, I'm going with Steve Kerr, my man out of Golden State. Just the turnaround from the Mark Jackson era to the Steve Kerr. I didn't think they should have got rid of Mark Jackson. I thought he was a great head coach for Golden State, but just what they bring to the table now with Steve Kerr, this defensive mindset, and their just offensive artillery is ridiculous. I feel like they're the best team in the NBA, and I think that's all because of Steve Kerr.
I think it's interesting that now you watch the way their offense flows since Steve Kerr's been there. It has more of a flow to it, more of a continuity to it, I guess.
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's not just jacking up threes like how it was under Mark Jackson, who's a great coach, who probably will be a good coach whenever he gets his next job. But yes, Steve Kerr's done a nice job. But I think the head coach of Atlanta, Mike Budenholzer, based on where everybody thought Atlanta was going to be at the start of this season, they thought, they were going to be a playoff team, but they'd be like one of those run-of-the-mill Eastern Conference playoff teams that all you got to do is show up and you make the playoffs. Yeah. All you got to do is really just show up and you're going to be a playoff team. If that, maybe they wouldn't.
500.
Maybe Detroit was going to be better. Maybe a lot of teams were going to be better than Atlanta, and nobody has been.
Yeah, that's correct. Atlanta's been the best team in the Eastern Conference, and that's probably has a lot to do with Mr. Budenholzer.
I mean, he's been under that Popovich system, so he learned how to play pop ball. And, everybody touches the ball and everybody contributes to your offense. And that's just, what Atlanta's about.
Yeah.
You look at, they don't have a lot of players averaging a lot of points per game, but they work as a unit and they work as a team. And I just can't imagine anyone winning the award.
Atlanta plays, I'm glad you brought that up, Dave. Atlanta does play a lot, very similar to the San Antonio Spurs. They have a lot of ball movement. It seems like the players really enjoy each other. They get along. It's transparent to the record. Paul Millsap, Jeff Teague, DeMar Carroll's a junkyard dog out there. They play very well together, and I think Budenholzer is the glue of that team that really gels them together and motivates them to keep playing the way they are. That's why he's going to be a legit contender for Coach of the Year.
And Atlanta has my fourth favorite player in the NBA, Thabo Sefolosha.
Oh,
I've always loved Thabo Sefolosha ever since he was a Bull. But yeah, that's basically our debate about a bunch of stuff going on in the NBA right now. I'm Dave, and he's Dan. If you really enjoyed our podcast, we're going to try to do this every Friday.
So please tune in every Friday. We're going to get more people involved, and it's going to be real fun. All right, see you next week.
All right, have a great day, everyone.